everyone. This is the first episode of our BPW Asia Pacific Her Footstep interview programs. I'm your host today. I'm the BPW, the Asia Pacific Regional Coordinator, Herlin Chien from BPW Taiwan. With me today, our first interviewer is Carolyn Savage from BPW New Zealand, who is also our BPW International Executive Secretary. So we are very glad that she is our first speaker, and then she will share her life experience with us. Caroline, would you please introduce yourself to our audience and then tell us a little bit, what do you best known for?
Thank you. Thank you for the very warm welcome. I am a registered architect and I focus on sustainability. And recently I have started a role as a senior development manager. What am I best known for? My passion around sustainability and ensuring that we design good outcomes when we develop houses and school projects or any design project that has an impact on the land and the end users.
That's great. So can you tell us a little bit more about the process, how you get to who you are today?
Okay, well, we better keep it short. So my journey started where I was given the opportunity to prepare drawings, trace drawings for an engineering company, and it was for the oncology site in Auckland. And so really old school, had 3 pens and a very basic drawing board to prepare the drawings, but it taught me about understanding the technical process. And from there, I went on. A few years later, I was doing my drafting certificate, and I decided I wanted to become an architect so I could have that control, that I could work directly with clients.
But when you were even younger, do you always wish you can see yourself as an architect or other professions?
I actually wanted to be a laboratory technologist.
Wow.
And
okay.
that was where I wanted to go. Had a total fear of injections, giving people needles, but I really was fascinated by the technical side and the science. But due to basically told at the age of 16 and a half that I had to leave school and had to help the family, I did exactly that and started doing really simple jobs. I was working as a shopkeeper. I worked in different types of supermarkets, and it was a stage when I got this opportunity that I'd do that training. And then I went on to designing food towns and Kmarts in New Zealand, did kitchen and bathroom designs. So it was really, and right through that process, there was some amazing mentors who helped me along the journey. And one of the engineers I went to work for when I went in from designing kitchens to working with a civil engineer and the surveying space, he interviewed me. He came into the interview. I was going to be a PA. He walked into the interview room and said, I've got 3 pens, a graph paper and a ruler. He said, I believe you can draw. I've been told you can draw. And I went, yes. He said, draw me something. And I went, what am I going to draw? And I drew a kitchen. He came back and went, oh, you do know how to use pens, ink pens. You do understand spacing and dimensions. Your style is architectural, but we'll make you an engineer. And he employed me there on the spot. He was brilliant. And but he gave me the opportunity to expand, and I ended up writing training manuals for the company that we've used right across the country. And then I was asked by the accountant to the executive finance officer or what you call chief finance officer, to write their training manual on their accounts program that could be used across the country.
So in this field, is it a male dominant, or you met many other females leaders as well?
It's very much a male dominated industry. we only have about 21% women as registered architects.
Wow. So what was your journey like? Do you feel more isolated in this male dominated, or you find it this also supported you?
I think I've been very fortunate because I've had a lot of support from various architects, and I would hand that same support, I suppose, support back to others as well through mentoring. But it was very interesting. Sometimes it wasn't the architects, it could be other consultants. Or if you were the client, then other architects then might look at you slightly differently. So that was that's really interesting space to be in.
Wow. Okay, so can you share with us what was your first journey with the BBW?
Right. I actually won a scholarship with BPW Franklin. It was
Wow,
called,
when was that?
it was in 2002. And I had a young baby and saw this, my husband saw this little ad in the paper and he said, you should apply for the Second Chance Education Scholarship. You were going to do your master's. And I went, oh, okay. So I applied, got it in the last 5 minutes, and I won.
Wow.
And I went, so when my son was 2 and I had finished my master's and graduated with my master's, I decided I would give something back to BPW, and I joined the Franklin Club. And it was my beginning of a journey, and there was a mother and daughter who both would tag team. One of them would phone me up 1 month and say, are you coming to the meeting? Would you like us to pick you up? Would you like to meet us? And that support was what got me through those first 6 months in the club, because I felt welcomed and supported. And then it was Christmas going into the new year, and I was shoulder tapped, would I like to go on the committee? And that's how things really started for me with BPW.
Wow. So you met many new friends through BBW, and then does that help with your professional life as well?
There were things I've learned through BPW, and BPW New Zealand, because of BPW Australia, have this program called Keys to Achievement. And I always think, personally, it's helped me in my professional space. It taught you about being a chair for meetings, or how to be a treasurer, how to organize a conference, and do run sheets.
Wow.
I applied for International Congress. So it was that education that actually provided additional support to my professionalism, in the sense that in my professional space, because I already understood how to hold meetings, how to write contracts, but I could, both lots of skills between both the professional and BPW have actually strengthened what I can offer as an individual.
That sounds fantastic. So since then, you are now very senior in our organization, BPW. Have you helped anyone to go through similar process like you did? And then what was that experience like?
Okay. I have always believed in mentoring others. So if it as architects, I mentored 5 graduates who were going forward for their registration. One of them I used to study with at university, and he'd come back to New Zealand to get his registration. And I said to him, have you had all your work experience signed off and submitted? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, look at this sheet. This is what you need to complete. He said, I haven't done that. I said, you better do it. You've only got till Friday to get it in. And all of that. And I sat down with a young woman who had never been given the opportunity to meet clients. So when you prepare a brief with your client, it is a skill. So I said, right, you've never done this. I took her through the interview process. I said to her, right, this is an area that you don't have a strength because you weren't given that opportunity. But this is what you need to say when you go through your interview. I didn't do this way, but this is what I would do, or this is who I would, this is how I would ask questions from others to make sure I prepared the right information. So it's that was part of the process for architects or future architects. And one of them, just to say, he started working with me in one company. I moved to another company, and I phoned him up one day and said, would you like to come and work with me? And then he went on. When I left, he said, no, Carolyn, you can't leave. I said, no, you'll be okay. Just step into this role. Well, he ended up going into an architectural practice, and I met him at a conference, at the Green Building Council conference, and we were catching up, and then suddenly he disappeared, and he was gone for a good hour. And he came back and he said, Carolyn, I have to thank you a little bit. I said, why? He said, because you mentored me and you gave me support. He said, and because of that, he said, I took on other roles. He said, I became an associate. He said, I've just become a principal of the company.
Wow.
I was just so wrapped for him. I thought that was fantastic news.
Yeah.
And he's a great architect. I really like where he's going.
Right, right. But at the same time, we know that through BPW, we will meet many other disciplines, different professions. Do you think that also help you to have a broader view or do any other cross-disciplinary collaborations?
I think one of the most amazing things about BPW is our diversity. It is. I am so blessed that I live in the Asia Pacific region.
Right.
And that I have met women in different industries, different career backgrounds, because I can have really diverse conversations and have my own sense of worth and reinforced by listening to these women and what they've achieved. So I think that's one of our biggest strengths. And I really think it's of value that we just don't celebrate enough.
Yeah. So if you could have recommend your experience, either professional or with BPW to someone else, who do you think can follow your footsteps? Since the name of our program is called Her Footstep.
Okay. Well, I have mentored some of our members. To give you a start, when I was president for BPW New Zealand,
Yes.
there was a woman I thought would be amazing to come on as our issues vice president, and that was Vicky Mee. Well, Vicky Mee not only did the role so well, we brought in Helen Swells, and she followed in Vicky's footsteps. But what happened was each woman brings their own skills, but we all learn from each other. And Vicky not only in her own way has shown a different way for our conferences, she then made a real stamp with resolutions. So I had created a form, a structure, and then Vicky made it her own, and that's the system that goes through. And Vicky Mee now has been the resolutions chair for BPW International. There's other members that we've even got on the new Asia Pacific committee is Christine Barrett, who was what I would say was a Behringer. Yes, sorry. But she came on and was on the executive. She stepped into the role of president. And it wasn't until I think the second year or third where she started to show this is her strength, where her strengths were. And now when it came to our resolutions and around the Constitution, I said to her, look, this is an opportunity for you to grow. So me, it's all about passing knowledge on. And I stepped into the roles I've done because of other members within BPW. So there was our past president, Faye Gardner, who was president when I came and was elected as the marketing convener for BPW in New Zealand.
Right.
And past president Anita Devicic, who was also one that they both really mentored me. And in reverse, I could do with Anita Devicic, for example, I ended up designing a house for her. And and we're still friends. That's even good. Because when you have good clients and you have a good client and architect relationship, you can stay good friends for years.
Yes. But starting from this year, obviously you go beyond BPW New Zealand. Now you go internationals, and you have far more opportunity to impact or influence many other women and work with many other women in other regions. What do you see yourself in this new task?
Right. As executive secretary, I want to bring everyone together to understand the importance of their constitutions and how they align with BPW International's constitutions and procedure manual. And to also understand that the reason why they have those documents is that if there's ever an issue, they can go back to them and use them as a basis. How do we do this? How do we do that? But they're part of the toolkit. The next part is about communication and how we can communicate with each other and respect each other, that we come across multicultural areas, that what happens in one region is not acceptable in another region. And that's where we have to be really strong in going forward.
Right, right. We're very diverse,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely diverse.
Yes, yes. So I think finally, can we think about what kind of advice you can give to either young BPW member or more seasonal BPW member or women who want to pursue in a career like yours now?
Wow, that's a big broad one.
Right.
My biggest advice is go look to who can be your mentors. Your mentor doesn't have to be someone that you're working directly with. And as I said, I've been really fortunate to have some very good mentors in my career. But it can be someone that you have seen who's inspired you and you go, can I work with you? Or can I follow you? Can you give me some tips? But also remembering that if you want to sit down and have a conversation with someone, you send them a quick email or a chat and say, look, I'd like to talk to you. And you put some time aside, but respecting that when you put that time aside, you are focused on that interaction. You don't get diverted with your telephone. You don't get diverted with anything else. You are focused on the person you are speaking with, and you're showing them that respect. I'm more than happy to mentor anyone. And if someone needs some help, they send me a quick text, I'm there for them. So it's to me, and as I've always said, I love passing knowledge on because I don't feel threatened if someone is learning this information and taking it with both hands and running forward, because then it means we've done the right thing and we've empowered someone else to step up.
Yes, yes. Well, I know that you continue to learn new things, right? Are you
Yes.
learning new things right now? Yeah. So what kind of advice do you provide if there are people who are very afraid of going into a new domain?
Okay. If you're not sure about something or you feel that you don't know, say someone you want to work with, but you don't feel like you're both listening to each other in the same way, you both got the same vision, but you might not be hearing each other. That's a challenge. So my advice then is to say to someone, well, bring someone else into the mix and ask them to come along and be your support. They don't have to say anything. They're just there to sit there with you. It could be in a meeting. You got someone, you go, well, I'd like to invite so-and-so just to come there and be support. And no one should ever be offended if someone asks to have someone there as support.
Right.
It is not a sign of weakness. It is actually a sign of strength, because you need to know, every one of us needs to know what our strengths are, but also where our weaknesses are and where we can work together, or someone else could actually provide that skill. So I'm always learning, and I've certainly in the last week certainly learned a few things as well.
Right.
And I learn every day. If I learn a new word, or if I have a look online, and then I challenge sometimes when I'm looking at something, go, okay, is that the fact? Shall I look at something else as well? So I never take everything for face value. I sometimes look for something behind.
Right, right. So the last point of advice we want to hear from you is based on gender difference. So obviously you are a female leaders in female profession. what are some of the advice you can recommend to other females professions when they either work in a male dominant world or they have to work with the opposite genders?
One of the things I'd say is join BPW.
Yeah, yes.
Because it's really important to be able to go and talk about issues that are specific to women. Can it be in the workplace, or it could be even in your home life? Sometimes you just want someone as a sounding board. And sometimes it can't be your intimate friends either, because you're feeling like that's too, not personal, but it's too close and they can see everyone and they might gossip.
Right.
Yeah, not gossip, but they might just inadvertently let something slip. But if you go into a group, so I'm going to tell you, when I went to BPW meeting in Franklin and they were talking about resolutions, and I heard them standing up and talking about some resolutions, and one in New Zealand was around prostitution. And I went home to my husband at the time. I said, I cannot believe it. These women support prostitutes. What are they doing? Because I had no understanding. I was so not naive, but I just didn't understand. And BPW helps us see the big picture. It provides a platform for us to learn, and we can hear what's happening. So when BPW puts resolutions forward, you go, I never thought of that issue, or I never thought that we could advocate for women's rights in this space because of this. That's where our strengths are. And when you work in a male-dominated industry, there are issues that women face in work that are different to men. And forget from pay equity through to dealing with families. And in some places, some companies now are starting to understand the impact for women and men as parents. So New Zealand's changed legislation around there. We know, like Switzerland, there's a number of countries around the world that have, but not every culture does it. And the other thing that's really important, and we have to make our space open, we have to stop bullying within our own organizations, but it's when a woman has been a mother. Like I met a young woman who said she would never be a member of BPW because she hadn't worked. But then you find out she'd been on the farm. She did all the accounts for the farm. She managed all the business side of things. She was organizing the children. She ran all the budgets effectively. She was organizing the school events. So all of that meant she was using her business skills to actually run and operate. She just wasn't in a recognized profession. And that's where we need to grab those women, because they've got different skills we can utilize. And we ended up with an MP as a member up in Warkworth. And the reason being, she came to one of my leadership events, and she said, you should be opening this up to children, high school girls. They should see this sort of level of engagement. And she said, this is amazing. She said, and I said, but you should become a member. And she said, no, I've never worked. I said, hang a minute, what have you done? And she started off with schools, and then she did the PTAs, and then she got on the boards. And I said, you are a business and professional woman.
Exactly. So thank you very much for all the sharing today. And we will continue to see your great work with BPW International and BPW New Zealand. I will see you in New Zealand soon.
You will. We're looking forward to welcoming you there.
Yes.
And basically the final thing is find your mentors, look for what has your passion, and work with others to actually develop as an individual.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much, Caroline, for today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.